Greetings and welcome to this episode of Healing Courageously. Today, Beans, my wife, did such a good job on our last episode. I mean, we had more people watch that episode than I think we've had watch a lot of them in a long time.
No, we got some nice compliments.
Got some nice compliments, yeah. But so I think I'm going to kind of do the same thing today. She told me she was going to take this show over, and she's
taking it over.
Well,
I'm
that's
just
what you
helping
told
to
me.
Lead. That's
okay,
all. We're plowing the fields together.
That's right, we are. We are. So I'm going to turn this over to her again for this episode, and we'll just see what happens. I'm sure it'll be just as good as our last episode.
When God's in the center of everything, it just goes.
Doesn't matter who's the lead, is it? As long as God's the lead, right?
That's
okay.
It.
All right.
So, are you turning it over to me now? It's my turn.
Yeah, everybody, meet my wife, Kathy Boyd.
Aw, thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
So, one of the things that we focus on is life coaching. And so this episode is going to be called Why Use a Life Coach? So some of you may not realize that Randy actually is a certified trauma-informed life coach.
Mm-hmm.
He has had training. There are specific things that you must study and learn and engage in order to be a certified informed trauma life coach.
Yeah, the certified life coach original certification was, I think, 2 or 3 months class. So there's a lot, and it was a great class.
Yeah, and then you did this trauma informed class just recently.
Probably last month.
Yeah, in the last month and a half or so. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you right now, just so our audience knows, what actually drew you to wanting to become a certified life coach, and then going beyond that to becoming the trauma-informed life coach? If you can share briefly what it is that drew you to wanting to do that.
I don't know.
That's good. It's not the right answer, but okay.
No, essentially, when I stepped into recovery, and I realized that sexual abuse of men, or abuse of men, period, was a common thread in the world of addiction, and just the world in common, right?
General, yeah.
And nobody out there was working with them. There was really no place a man could go. Nobody a man could talk to about it. And thank God for our therapist, Deborah, who was tremendous, absolutely tremendous in helping me on my journey. And I realized then that my career in construction was going to be over. That, you know what, I want to help men. I want to be that voice. And I was and still am very much an advocate. I speak boldly about it, about what happened to me. And not only that, the most important part that we want to hear is about hope and healing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the healing journey we found in for a lot of abuse and addiction. It could be actually anybody. Let's just get away from the abuse right now.
I was just going to say, this is not just a trauma situation or recovery or abuse. There's so much more to life coaching.
Exactly.
That's just a small component.
It's a small component.
That I think was where your heart was drawn to, but you have learned to expand beyond that.
Right. But that's what got me into helping, not only me, first starting out with helping men, and then not, But
yet your first client was a woman.
Yeah, my first client was a woman. Is that true? Yeah.
Again, it was one of those things where being a life coach gives you great opportunities.
Yes.
Great opportunity.
To help
many people.
And I was going to school for psychology. I got my my AA in psychology. And, somebody mentioned something about coaching, and I said, yeah, I think I'll check into it. And we checked in with Jenny, and we talked to her a couple of different times right before I joined her group to learn how to become a life coach. And it's just a better way to help people.
Right.
It's we don't get into the mental health stuff and all that, but it's like we don't know the root of the problem. Then you can go to as many people as you want, right? But it's like, let's find out what the root is, and then I can help you. I can coach you out of the, through that root system and get you going to a life that you really deserve, that a life that you want.
Yeah,
So
and I think for you personally in your journey of healing and recovery and stuff, obviously that was a really big component in wanting to do that, because
right.
you knew that there was such a need for those people.
Yeah.
In that, and it's been able to expand much beyond that.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then what's happened is with Kathy, she eventually started working with women, and then her and I started working together with couples.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we work with pre-marriage, we work with marriage, we just coach all different types of people if they need help. I think the advantage that Kathy and I have is that, first of all, we've been married for 39 years.
Yeah, experiences draws a lot into it.
I got nothing against academics. I got academia myself, but experience trumps academia 100,000 times over.
Yeah, you need some of that for guidance and direction.
Exactly.
But it's the experience.
And I rely on that. Yeah. I rely on the academia.
You do.
Right?
Absolutely. When we moved here, there was so many books.
Yeah.
Don't get rid of it. I need that. So, well, let's get into this a little bit more then. We have some questions, or there's going to be some discussion about what coaching is. But let's get an idea of what coaching isn't. What are the things that are important. That is important, because we all kind of have. I think we have somewhat of an idea of what coaching should be.
Right.
But we want to make sure that we're clear on what coaching is not. So can you share a little bit about what coaching is not?
Okay, well, let's start off with coaching is not psychotherapy or it's not psychotherapy. All right, we don't work with mental disorders as defined by the American Psychiatric Association. In fact, one of my credences is ethical credences: do no harm. And so I'll be the first person that if somebody's struggling, you need to go to see a psychiatrist. And I've referred several people to psychiatrists, right? They go begrudgingly. Or I don't think we really had to refer anybody to a regular psychologist.
No, but we wouldn't be opposed to it.
We wouldn't be opposed to it.
If the need was there, definitely.
Exactly. I mean, it comes to a point where it's like, okay, you're going to need a little deeper work than what we can do. Life coaching and our inner healing sessions are not a substitute for counseling, psychotherapy, mental health care, or substance abuse treatment.
You've had clients that have done both coaching,
right,
as well as therapy.
Yeah, and
they work well together.
They work well together, and I've also had clients come to me and say, "I can't go. Psychologists have not worked for me."
Right.
Right. So
exactly. Some will work well together, and some don't. It just depends on the individual.
And the only thing in the list I just read you is that the substance abuse treatment, there's a time when you do need to go to treatment, right? You can't do it alone. I think everybody can do it alone if they choose to, but it's hard. Yeah. So we do work with substance abuse a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. The psychotherapy is a healthcare service, and its primary focus is to identify, diagnose, and treat nervous and mental disorders. Okay. So we're not doing that. I can recognize it, and I can see it, and I can suggest that maybe this is what I'm seeing. You might want to talk to a psychologist that can properly diagnose you with some of these traits that I'm seeing in you.
Right.
Okay, so that's what coaching is.
We're better together when you see a need that you can identify that and guide them appropriately.
Yeah, and I'm more than willing to work side by side with a therapist, with a client.
Yeah.
I think that the combination of if the therapist is on the same track, right? The combination of the psychotherapist working deep in some different areas, and then me coaching them into walking forward in their life and becoming a better person. It actually works really good. Yeah. I think Deborah, my therapist, I think she did a lot of coaching. To be honest with you, the way she did it. I mean,
different practices are a little different, but I do think that the coaching. I think the beauty of what I love in the coaching is that it allows us to get real deep in there, because we have a way of drawing that deepness out of people. So let's talk about what coaching is. So tell me about what coaching is, what it is, how it works, and all those good things.
Let me just go over this right here. So coaching, it's a coach is a personal change expert. All right. So coaches help people like you grow faster, perform at higher levels, understand themselves more deeply, and live with greater purpose and fulfillment. In the same way that a personal trainer helps a pro athlete maximize performance, a personal coach can help you get the most out of life.
Yeah.
So
I like that analogy.
We're there with specific goals in mind that you want to work towards. It's like I say, sometimes those goals aren't as simple as going from point A to point B, because there could be some mental blocks in you that we need to find out what they are and where they came from so we could break through that barrier, right? So, we're a personal change expert. What happens in a coaching appointment? There's several things here, but coaching appointments begin with a chance for you to report on your progress and end with a clear set of action steps that you choose to take in the week ahead. But what is the essential spark between you and your coach that makes the relationship so transformational?
Those action steps.
The action steps. That's what's really clear. We're not. My training taught me to listen like Jesus. I mean, that's what the whole thing was based, right? And it's like, so when we're talking, I'm listening with curiosity. I want to hear what you're saying. I'm watching intuitively, what you're saying. I'm watching your face, your body language. We're watching all that, right? Because that's what's going to tell the truth. And then what I'll do, instead of telling you what you need to do or what I think you need to do, which is real easy to do, but I'm not you, is I start asking curious questions. And sometimes at a dive, I had one of my, actually a guy I was mentoring taught me this. He says, Randy, ask the person 5 times why.
That's good.
So it's like the curious question comes up based on a thought that's going on in a client, and you just ask that question. And then if he or she answers it, then you ask another question. But at the end of the day, the client is the one that's basically in charge of the 1-hour session. Okay. At the end of the session, they have sorry, my screen went blank. I know you can see me, but at the end of the day, the last thing that we do is we give you, or you give me, 3 action steps that you're going to take during the next week between our last appointment. So you control the session more than you would in therapy.
And so when, let's say you meet with a client one day and you've gone through your session and you've given them those action steps, what, when you come back that next week or 10 days, whatever that next appointment is do you discuss those action steps at that point?
Yeah, ultimately what there is I'll send out a sheet that's to find out where they're at that week, how you do on your action
to help
set.
hold them accountable.
Them accountable, right?
That's good.
And so the first thing I will do is we'll just look at that, look how they did on their action steps. If they didn't do good on their action steps, it's like, okay, what was the holdback that kept you? What are you struggling with, right? And so it's just a way to hold people accountable. Yeah. But the action steps, it's like instead of me telling you what you need to do, and you do it and it fails or backfires in your face, who are you going to blame? You're going to blame me, right? Right. So the action steps, you're creating the action steps, right, that you're going to make sure happens over the next week.
I can just add to that. I remember when you said that, it made me realize that there were times in our therapy sessions, or even my personal therapy sessions, where I was given a little prescription paper, if you want to call it that, with things that I needed to do, or a book I needed to look at, or something I needed to read. And I'm going to be really honest with you, because I wasn't held accountable, there was times that I never did anything.
Right.
And I love the fact about coaching is you're partnering with them more so than anything else. And you're walking with them and you're staying in contact with them throughout the week based upon the type of program that they've signed up for. But I think that's the beauty. That's like being a coach. Really, your coach is cheering you on. Your coach is there to encourage you. Your coach is there to push you if you're struggling.
Right.
And so I think that's the difference that I see between a regular therapy session versus a coaching session,
Right.
which I think is great.
Exactly.
I think it's really good.
Transformational conversation. Sorry, I can't talk today. And I just talked about that a little bit, where the conversation is the client's leading the conversation. I'm listening intuitively.
Yeah.
And then asking intuitive questions, right? Drawing, because I think we all know deep inside of us what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that.
We just need somebody to pull
we
that
need somebody
out of
to
us.
help pull that out and help us discover it. And that's what our job is as a coach. I mean, people say, I don't know. And I said, no, you do know. You're just afraid to talk about it, right?
You've told me that.
Yeah. It's a transparent relationship. It's almost like a coach is a friend and a confidant. Your greatest supporter is someone who knows you well enough to call out the best in you.
Yeah.
To call out the best in you, but also will tell you also when you're going sideways.
Yeah.
Right.
That may not be the best
right.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah. You might want to think about that.
Yeah.
And with a transparent relationship, that's the one thing about us, is that we all kind of like to tell people a little bit where we came from.
Right.
So that makes them really comfortable.
I was going to say that transparent relationship is where you build the trust in the relationship.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not going to just go talking to Joe Schmo about my issue or my situation. So I think that's the beauty in that transparent relationship, is that you really are building trust within that relationship. And when you get to a place of trust, you hold it as such a high standard. And trust is difficult sometimes. I'm not going to say it's easy, but once that trust is established, it is a powerful, powerful tool to utilize in a coaching session.
No, absolutely. I mean,
what else you
it's
got?
It's like we live by this. One friend of mine went somewhere for a minute. Sorry, that's what I do. We live by this one credo, and it's from the big book. You cannot transmit something you do not have.
Right.
Right. So I mean, and we live by that. So it's like, how can I tell you how to rebuild an engine when I've never built one?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can't. I mean, I wouldn't even try to. But yet there are people that will try to tell you how to rebuild an engine that's never rebuilt one. So same thing with your life. How can I help you rebuild your life if I've never rebuilt one?
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's really, really good. So coaching is a support system
of change, right? With support, encouragement, and accountability from someone who believes in us, we can do far more than we'd ever accomplish alone.
Yeah.
A coach helps you stay on track, overcome obstacles, and convert your want-tos into concrete steps that are put into your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to encourage you, right? We all get stuck.
Yeah.
I've been stuck. My wife's been stuck. What we need is, we don't need to be shot down. We don't need to be put down. If you don't do this, we're going to encourage you.
Yeah.
Find out what's holding you back. Let's work on, instead of forgetting about it, let's find out what's holding you back from moving forward.
Right. And I think that there was another word, accountability, came in there again too. That accountability goes both ways, not only for you as a coach, but for your client as well. And I know that there have been clients that you've had in the past, and this is what I love about coaching, is there's been clients in the past that it may not be their session, but they're not afraid to call you because they know that you're holding each other accountable to their journey.
Right.
And so they'll call you and say, I'm stuck here. This is what's happening. And, I hear you on the phone. It might be a 10-minute conversation. It might be a 30-minute. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that as a client, you know that you have somebody that you can be accountable to just as much as they're accountable to you.
You just brought up a good point, because that's also a really good point, and a big difference between therapy, psychotherapy, and a coach.
Right.
You can't call up your therapist in the middle of the day and say, hey, I'm struggling, I need 9
o'clock at night.
9 o'clock at night. You might be able to. We're going to send you a bill, right? Or on our coaching, we include that. If you buy one of the packages, we include that in that package. Where we say, hey, man, I'm really struggling right now. I don't know how to handle this. This is what I'm thinking about doing. And I think that's really important, that you have that extra added support when besides the session.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely necessary.
Right.
What else you got there?
It's just what can you work on with a you can work on just about anything, right? I don't think there's anything that, unless we don't know about it, but, we've worked on all sorts of abuse. I've helped people, through some of their abuse. Some of them, when it gets to abuse, there's a couple that have had to go elsewhere, and it's a tough subject to work on. But you can work on your marriage, your relationships. Kathy and I together love working with couples. And the way we work with our couples, when we coach, somebody calls us up and they're having marriage issues, is that we work with a couple.
Yeah.
And we work together. We don't take sides, right? I mean, Kathy gets in the men's, stuff, and I get in the women's stuff.
And I think that's the beauty of that, is having that ability to see things differently together.
Exactly. But then what we also know is that the marriage isn't broken.
Right.
Each individual has got brokenness that they've carried into their marriage. And some people might not like to hear that word broken, but the reality is that we're broken to some degree.
Yeah.
And
it might just be a chip, but hey, we don't want that chip to turn into a crack, and then that crack turns into a split.
Right. I think one of the biggest issues with marriage is communication.
Yeah. Yeah, which we talk about quite often.
Yeah, we talk about almost all the time. Yeah. So, Sir John Whitmore says this: coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them learn rather than teaching. That's the key right there. We're helping you to learn rather than teaching. Okay, we're not teachers.
It's like you said, they probably have the answers within them.
Correct.
So you're pulling that information so that they are learning that they have the answer within them.
Exactly.
I love that.
And a lot of times they've had the answer, but they're afraid. They're afraid to voice it. And this is what we work on, because they've lost their voice.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, they weren't allowed to speak and talk about how they feel.
Yeah.
And not almost all, 100% of our marriages, and I'd say 90% of the single, that's exactly what the problem is that they're so afraid to speak their truth because they've never been able to do it. Or when they did it, they got put down.
Right. And I think for me, I noticed that a lot because I was one of those people that felt like if I said something, this is going to turn into a fight, or this is going to turn into something. So I appreciate the fact that coaching gives you a safe place that you can speak your truth. And there's no repercussions of that here. Right. So I have a couple things that I wanted to kind of run through. It's going to sound like a lot, but I think they're all very important. And so Randy's done a great job of giving us an understanding of what coaching is. But what about the benefits? What are the benefits of coaching? So I'm just going to read through a list of things that there are here. If any of these resonate with you, just know that we're available to walk you through that, and we'll give you our information at the end of this podcast here on how to reach us for life coaching. But what are the benefits of coaching? There are several, as I said. So one of them is improve self-confidence. Sometimes in life growing up, it might be in a work environment, whatever, we lose our self-confidence. So it will definitely help you in your self-confidence.
Again, that's one of those things. What happened to your self-confidence?
Right.
Where
a lot of these are going to have roots to them. Exactly. So these are the things that people struggle with, but there's a root attached to it. So we're going to get you to that root so we can guide you through it. Heightened self-awareness. Create a balanced life. How many people feel like they're juggling all the balls in the air? They feel like the circus clown in their house. And I have been there. So creating a balanced life is one of the beauties of that.
The heightened self-awareness, I mean, that has been almost over 17 years into the recovery journey part of it. That heightened awareness is something that I had all along, but then I lost it as a child because of the trauma, right? And now that I'm getting back, and you know some of the things that I said, hey, this is going to happen, and it's happened. So that awareness will come back that you might have not ever thought you had. You'll be able to gain it back.
Yeah, that's good. Coaching will help you achieve goals, whether they be personal goals, whether they be goals in your work environment, whether they be goals as a family. They will also help you achieve those goals. Coaching helps find happiness. I can honestly say that Randy's a whole different person because of his journey, not only of working on himself, but giving to others as well. Finding happiness is key, especially if you are kind of down in the dumps and discouraged and things, maybe things aren't the way you thought they would be at one point in your life, we'll help you find that. We'll help you get back to that. Coaching helps you discover clarity of purpose. I mean, there was a long time, I will just share very briefly from myself, I had no idea what my purpose was. I thought I was an escrow officer, and I just, I was a mom, I was a wife, you do all those things. And it wasn't until our pastor at one point was like, you've got to find your purpose. I'm like, what do you mean you got to find your purpose? This is what my purpose is. So for me, I was like, okay, God, what's my purpose? You're going to have to show me. And lo and behold, as soon as I asked that question, I would start getting either a text or a DM from a woman that says, hey, can you meet for coffee? And I'm like, okay, God, that's funny. It happened again and again to where I realized that discovery of clarity of purpose, it was coming to me. And my purpose was to work with women. And I didn't think I had anything to offer. But in my own journey, I discovered my purpose was to help women. I wasn't the only one feeling that way. I wasn't the only one that went through that. And so this coaching definitely helps you to discover that.
Because a lot of times on that purpose, and we might have a lot of things going on in our head, ideas bouncing back and forth. And again, we go back to, finding the clarity and why can't you make that final decision? What is it that's holding you back from you? Yeah, what is it that's blocking you from making that final decision? And again, with coaching, we can work through that.
Help discover that.
It's a process. It's a step-by-step process, but we can get you through it.
Yeah. Coaching will help you do what you love. I mean, sometimes we do things out of obligation or responsibility, and we forget about the things that we personally love. So coaching will help guide you to that. Follow through on commitments. How many procrastinators are out there listening? That is a struggle for me. I procrastinate. I have a thing that I have right now that's just stirring in my spirit, but I feel like I'm kind of not following through on what I want to do. I love this one. Discover your best self. We don't always know what that looks like. We think that we got our best self, but we don't always know that there's more. And so coaching will get you to a place where you discover your best self. This one I think is really super great because I don't think we think about this in general in life, is determining your strengths and weaknesses. Now, I used to think that I didn't need to know what my weaknesses were. I used to think that my weaknesses were a bad thing, but sometimes my weaknesses propel me to my strength. So determine your strengths and weaknesses.
And then also realize that a lot of times those strengths can be weaknesses and your weaknesses can be strengths.
Right, exactly. Be open-minded. Improve communication. We talk about that quite often. Manage time and productivity. That's also sometimes those procrastinators struggle there. Eliminate negative thoughts. If you've had any type of trauma in your life, negative thoughts are natural to you. Yes. They don't need to be, but they are. They've been ingrained in you. Yeah. Overcoming your fears. There could be fears of a lot of things that you're struggling with. Coaching will help you get there. Unearth creativity. Where's all my creative people out there? You know that you've got this creativity, but now we need to unearth it and find out what that is. What does that look like? Provide a different outlook on life. No more doom and gloom. There's so much out there. There's so much beauty in the world. We're going to help you get a different outlook on life.
I'm working with one person right now that's really struggling with that, having a different outlook, and it's not good. I mean, it can really be detrimental to your mental, emotional, and physical health
and relationships. A lot of these things affect your relationships, definitely. Be aware of your values. Sometimes we don't always realize that we have values. We can bring those values out of you. Alignment of strengths with decisions. Maybe you have a hard time making a decision. We're going to help align and get your strengths so that you can make those decisions. Stay motivated. One of the most sought after benefits of life coaching is to stay motivated. We can get all excited and go, 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 yay, yay, yay. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, that's where that accountability comes in as a coach. Again,
exactly. And I'll just very briefly, just got off the phone with my naturopathic doctor. There is a routine that I should be doing every single day, every single week. I stopped doing it because I wasn't motivated. I had so many distractions in my life that kept me from being motivated. So that is something that's important. Be able to make better decisions, learn how to show empathy, Learn to accept criticism. Criticism to me was horrible, but I learned that there's growth in that criticism. Show more appreciation. I love everybody, so that's kind of easy for me. Build a rapport, reduce stress. That's very important. I think our world right now is so full of stress for so many different reasons. Coaching is going to help you reduce stress. Going to give you some things to reduce your stress. Decreased depression and anxiety.
And then I'm going to touch on that one. We understand and we thoroughly are aware, because I was once diagnosed with it, that there's a clinical depression and a clinical anxiety, and that is going to need professional help, and we believe in meds. I mean, I needed them. I had to take them. But my psychiatrist, about a year ago, we were sat down and he goes, I know it was Dr. Sheath with TMS, right? He says, Randy, he goes, I want you to think about something. He goes, this has all just come up new in some studies and stuff. He goes, when you're anxious, why are you anxious? Is it the anxiety disorder, right? You don't mess with that. Or is it self-induced anxiety, right? And man, I think about that. It's like, my anxiety today, when I have it, that's right where I go, is all self-induced, because I overcommitted, right? There's something that I've done or said that I shouldn't have done or said. Right? Then when it comes to depression, again, there's clinical depression, and I've been there. It's a dark place to go. You don't want to mess with it. But today on my journey, and I've shared this with several people, that am I depressed or am I just sad? People throw around the word depression like popcorn at a movie theater, right? And so it's like, my dog died, I'm so depressed. Well, no, are you really depressed? Do you really know what depression is? Okay. So the question would be, are you depressed or are you just sad? Yeah. I would contend that you're probably deeply saddened because you just lost a dog, a pet of yours, right? I would contend that, and that is very understanding. Yeah. So you got to weigh those out, right? First of all, if you haven't been diagnosed with either one of those, and you feel that you are, then go get diagnosed and make sure so that you can handle it properly. And if not, if for the most part you're good spirited and happy and not depressed and not anxious, then think about those two questions.
That's good. Ooh,
is this self-induced, or am I sad or just depressed?
Yeah.
Or depressed or just sad?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So, well, that is what all we have for today.
Yeah.
But I do want to just share with you that, life coaching is life transitioning. It's a change of past behaviors. It's an exploration of a new you. So I want to encourage you, if anybody out there is listening, or if you know anybody that would benefit from life coaching, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach Randy by phone at area code 760-702-5498, or you can email at courageoushealers@gmail.com. That's courageoushealers@gmail.com.
And if they go to changeyourlifestorynow.com, it's on the screen there. You go to that page, you can just click on the contact form and send me a contact form, and I'll get back to you usually within a couple hours, and we'll figure out what you want.
Yeah.
Another way they can get to us now too is go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com. Go to Fiverr and just put on their life coaches, and I'm in that area too.
Yeah, and I just want to say that, for those of you listening, I'm going to throw this out there. Randy doesn't even know this. Randy will give you a free 30-minute consultation if life coaching is something you're interested in.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, he can sit down with you, go over where you are and find out, and then we go through all the packages. So don't worry about packages right now. Don't worry about cost. If you're being drawn to needing some life coaching, you deserve it, and we want you to get it. So please definitely reach out to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please do that. So you want to talk about the foundation real quick?
Yeah, I just want to briefly say, we want to remind you that part of Change Your Life Story Now is connected through the Courageous Healers Foundation, which is our nonprofit 503c nonprofit who helps men, women, and families heal from the scars of abuse, whether it be physical, sexual, spiritual, emotional. We encourage you to check out our webpage there. We also are looking for donations as any nonprofit. And on this topic is not an easy topic. This healing journey is not easy for a lot of people, but we do rely on your donations, and we are so grateful. There have been a few people that have really just started reaching out and set up for auto pays. It could be as little as $5 a month. It could be $20, $30, whatever your heart is drawn to. You can go to changeyourlifestorynow.com and a link to make that donation. So we're trying to simplify things. I know it's a lot of information at the end, but we appreciate those that are consistently donating. It does help those that don't have or can't afford help in this area, that we're able to offer that. I work with a couple of women during the week, and that's what this is. This helps to offset the cost of that. So we really, truly appreciate that.
Yeah, we do appreciate it very much.
We thank you guys for listening today, and we hope that this was helpful. And again, if you need us, we're here for you.
We're here for you. Absolutely, guys. Thanks for joining us on this episode. And remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does.
Kathy does.
But more importantly, God does.
Love
Be blessed,
guys.
Everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
This has been Healing Courageously with Randy Boyd. We will have a new episode every Monday. Please like us on iTunes or Google Play. If you would like to know more about the services available from Randy, please visit him at changeyourlifestorynow.com. Thank you for spending time with us. We'll see you next week. And remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does.